Welcome, and good afternoon. Welcome to our second live, brought to you by Primetime Home Buyers Buyback Program, the Tax Lien Continue Education Program. So, today we're going to start off with a mini commercial, and then we're going to get right into the content, guys. We're not going to have a long broadcast, but what we'll go over today is some key information to get your wheels rolling so you can understand what are certain aspects of mortgage lending. Before we go into tax liens, I like to educate everyone and for us to continue our knowledge on certain topics so we can make sound decisions. So today we're going to talk about subprime mortgages and the effects subprime mortgages had on home buyers, especially in 2008 when we had the financial crisis. So we're going to go through that information, then we're going to go right into our course content today, where we're going to just focus on how to get started researching and acquiring the information we need to be a tax lien investor, as well as get into the mindset of being a tax lien investor. So we're going to start by getting our film together. You know, I always got to set up because I don't have a producer yet, but we will. So the first thing we're going to go over today is what is a subprime mortgage? And today's content is going to be brought to you by AUDIOPEDIA. You can find AUDIOPEDIA on YouTube. Like and subscribe, and you can learn a whole world of information. They have a lot of definitions as well as examples of a vast variety of words. So just check them out. So today we're going to talk about what is subprime lending. And what does subprime lending mean? Subprime lending, the meaning and explanation, okay?
In finance, subprime lending, also referred to as near prime, non-prime, and second chance lending, means making loans to people who may have difficulty maintaining their repayment schedule, sometimes reflecting setbacks, such as unemployment, divorce, medical emergencies, etc. Historically, subprime borrowers were defined as having FICO scores below 640, although this has varied over time and circumstances. These loans are characterized by higher interest rates, poor quality collateral, and less favorable terms in order to compensate for higher credit risk. Many subprime loans were packaged into mortgage-backed securities (MBS) and ultimately defaulted, contributing to the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008. Proponents of subprime lending maintain that the practice extends credit to people who would otherwise not have access to the credit market. Professor Harvey S. Rosen of Princeton University explained, "The main thing that innovations in the mortgage market have done over the past 30 years is to let in the excluded, the young, the discriminated against, the people without a lot of money in the bank to use for a down payment." In the United States, the amount of student loan debt recently surpassed credit card debt, hitting the $1 trillion mark in 2012. In other countries, such loans are underwritten by governments or sponsors. Many student loans are structured in special ways because of the difficulty of predicting students' future earnings. These structures may be in the form of soft loans, income-sensitive repayment loans, income-contingent repayment loans, and so on. Because student loans provide repayment records for credit rating, and may also indicate their earning potential, student loan default can cause serious problems later in life as an individual wishes to make a substantial purchase on credit, such as purchasing a vehicle or buying a house, since defaulters are likely to be classified as subprime, which means the loan may be refused or more difficult to arrange and certainly more expensive than for someone with a perfect repayment record. Although there is no single, standard definition, in the United States subprime loans are usually classified as those where the borrower has a FICO score below 640. The term was popularized by the media during the subprime mortgage crisis or credit crunch of 2007. Those loans which do not meet Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac underwriting guidelines for prime mortgages are called non-conforming loans. As such, they cannot be packaged into Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac MBS. A borrower with an outstanding record of repayment on time and in full will get what is called an A-paper loan. Borrowers with less than perfect credit scores might be rated as meriting an A-, B-paper, C-paper or D-paper loan, with interest payments progressively increased for less reliable payers to allow the company to share the risk of default equitably among all its borrowers. Between a paper and subprime and risk is Alt-A. A- is related to Alt-A, with some lenders categorizing them the same, but A- is traditionally defined as mortgage borrowers with a FICO score of below 680, while Alt-A is traditionally defined as loans lacking full documentation. The value of U.S. subprime mortgages was estimated at $1.3 trillion as of March 2007, with over 7.5 million first lien subprime mortgages outstanding. The subprime mortgage crisis arose from bundling American subprime and American regular mortgages into MBSs, which were traditionally isolated from, and sold in a separate market from, prime loans. These bundles of mixed, prime and subprime mortgages were based on asset-backed securities, so the probable rate of return looked superb, since subprime lenders pay higher premiums on loans secured against saleable real estate, which was commonly assumed could not fail. Many mortgages had a low interest for the first year, and poorer buyers' defaults were swapped regularly at first, but finally such borrowers began to default in large numbers. The inflated house price bubble burst, property valuations plummeted, and the real rate of return on investment could not be estimated, and so confidence in these instruments collapsed, and all less than prime mortgages were considered to be almost worthless toxic assets, regardless of their actual composition or performance. Because of the originate-to-distribute model followed by many subprime mortgage originators, there was little monitoring of credit quality and little effort at remediation when these mortgages became troubled. To avoid high initial mortgage payments, many subprime borrowers took out adjustable-rate mortgages, or ARMs, that give them a lower initial interest rate. But with potential annual adjustments of 2% or more per year, these loans can end up costing much more. So a $500,000 loan at a 4% interest rate for 30 years equates to a payment of about $2,400 a month. But the same loan at 10% for 27 years after the adjustable period ends equates to a payment of $4,220. A 6 percentage point increase from 4% to 10% in the rate caused slightly more than a 75% increase in the payment. This is even more apparent when the lifetime cost of the loan is considered, though most people will want to refinance their loans periodically. The total cost of the above loan at 4% is $864,000, while the higher rate of 10% would incur a lifetime cost of $1,367,280.
Okay guys, so I'm just going to break down some key elements that they talked about in this video which was very important. When it comes to subprime lending, basically subprime lending was done to in the great aspects, which was supposedly good for lower class people who was discriminated, the young, or people who didn't have good credit. So these subprime loans were given to people who weren't able to actually afford the payments. And what this goes to say, I wanted to highlight this information because, one, the most important thing that I want people to take back from the primetime home buyers is that you have to be educated in your situation and make adequate decisions for you. Just because there's a temptation out there does not mean that that is the right decisions to make. A lot of people want to get into home buying and have a home, but the issue is that you have to look at it realistically. When you go through the program, Primetime Home Buyers Tax Liens, you'll see that there's a section that teach you about compound interest and simple interest. And this is very important when it comes to lending and actually home buying and calculating tax. And calculating what your payments may be or the expected amount of a total amount of for something that you purchase, such as a home, a car, and that equating and taking in mind the interest. So what that goes to say, compound interest and simple interest is something that's very important for people who want to invest, who are interested in purchasing homes, so you can understand how much you're actually going to pay. Now, when you take the time, I want you to go back to AUDIOPEDIA and listen to this video again, and I'm going to share it in the group because what it highlight was the breakdown of how much a mortgage would actually end up costing based on a 4% interest rate, as well based on 4% and 10%. And as you see, she said 4% for a $500,000 home. And a lot of us with a lower income bracket is not going to buy a $500,000 home. And if you are, I advise you to pump your brakes and think about it, because you'll have a mortgage out of the kazoo. So as she mentioned, that $500,000 home will end up costing $800,000 at a 4% interest rate, depending on how it's calculated, which is simple interest or compound interest. So these are the things that you need to know. So the subprime mortgage crisis occurred because a lot of people were able to get home loans, but they actually couldn't afford it. So the responsibility has to be taken on both sides of the equation, which is the home buyers and the home lenders. So at that time, when that happened, when Obama went in, he came in and made the Dodd-Frank Act. Dodd-Frank Act was to regulate banks, regulate contracts as far as lending practices, and give guidelines. At this time right now, to my knowledge, I know that Dodd-Frank Act or the funding for it to keep these type of check and balance system has been defunded under our new administration. So I highlight this to say, because if you're trying to refinance or buy a home right now, you really need to be aware of the contract and what you're getting into. Also, the possibility of if you don't get a fixed interest rate, and you have a fluctuating interest rate and the way the market may go. So these are key elements that we need people to be aware of so you and I can make sound decisions. Okay, so another thing that they mentioned was the way the housing crisis actually happened. We went over this in Secure Your Energy Live. So if you're part of this group, you may remember what they did was package the subprime and the prime mortgages together. So the risky mortgage with the non-risky mortgages, put them together and then sold them in ETFs. They sold them as secondary instruments of investment. So those people who invested, they pretty much they may have not knew they had a risky instrument, because all they may have seen was a whole lot of income coming from this specific instrument, because they have about 12 homes that's tied together under this one package, not taking in consideration that some of them are subprime mortgages, which deal with more risky lending, and depending on the market or the situation, as they say, you may be having a baby, out of work, you may get sick, be laid off. Anything can happen which change person's capability to pay their bill. So being aware of that, us having a lower income, you have to be aware of the debt that you put yourself in. So This is why at Primetime Home Buyers, we focus on education, 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 and elevation. You have to know what you're doing, or at least try to learn, because it's all about learning and growing. No one knows everything. No, information is for us to seek. So with that goes to say, we're going to go into another form of investment. Now, there's a lot of people that want to be homeowners, but they may not want to go through the lending process, the loan process, and with this goes to say, when you invest in tax liens, not only does it cut the loan process depending on what route you go, because as an investor, you may take a private loan to help you close on the home that you just got and fix it up and hurry up and resell it and pay that loan off. It's endless possibilities when it comes to investing in tax liens and deeds. So let's move on to Crash Course. Now, I love Crash Course. The 2008 financial crisis. I don't want to share this full video with you guys, but the people that's in Primetime Home Buyers group, I'm going to share this link in the group for us, for you to watch, because I love, that I love this YouTube page. Crash Course. They have abundance of information, so I ask you to like and subscribe and check them out. They have pretty simple, comprehensive verbiage, so if you're at a high school level or maybe not, you'll be able to understand and comprehend and take the time and go research yourself. So now we're going to get into the content that we came here for. So if you're a student, you know that this is the platform where you're going, Udemy, where it hosts the Primetime Home Buyers Tax Lien Buyback Program course. It's the basic fundamentals of starting to invest and getting into that mind frame of being a tax lien investor. Okay, so today we're going to go over research keys, investment planning, and the starting point. Where do you start? The last week we talked about planning, like having an idea, having a goal, having an area that you want to look into. So the last the first live that we did, we focused on what area would we like, and we highlighted key elements to look at when you're looking into home buying. Even if you're going to go the conventional way and purchase, you have a loan attached to your home, it's always good to research key elements about the area, as well as later on in our broadcast where we're talking about structurized findings of homes to avoid when you're a first-time home buyer, as well as a first-time tax lien investor. So let's get to business. This is about a 10-minute video. I want to thank all the people who are signed into the course and are proceeding down the way of learning how to invest in tax liens and tax deeds.
Welcome to Primetime Home Buyers, the Buyback Program, Class 4. The process of getting prepared. Research and planning is the key. I want you guys to remember and always keep in your mind the basic elements of tax liens. So you're going to see at the beginning of Class 4, we're going to reiterate some of the key concepts of tax liens and the process so we can move on into research. When a homeowner is delinquent on their property tax, the county or the city government where the property is located can place a lien on the property or foreclose and sell it for back taxes. If the lien is placed on the property and the homeowner do not pay the delinquent taxes, the lien is sold to an investor such as me and you. The investor is reimbursed their investment plus interest and fees. We already know that we can receive between a 6 to 18% interest penalty, but it varies by state. Once the property bypasses the grace period, the municipality levies interest and penalties on what's owed. Okay, so that's where the levy comes in. Next, the lien is placed on the property. The property would then be placed on the next lien sale. At the tax sale, the lien is sold to an investor. This is when the tax lien certificate is created. What rate return can an investor expect from tax certificate? Interest rates vary from state to state. Example, Alabama fixed rate is 12%. Arizona fixed rate is 16%. Simple interest. Remember, I told you that we're going to go over the concept of simple interest versus compound interest. So let's get into simple interest. Simple interest. Understand the simple interest. When you make a payment on a simple interest loan, the payment first goes towards the month interest and the remainder goes towards the principal. Each monthly interest is paid in full, so it's never accrued. In contrast, compound interest adds some of the monthly interest back onto the loan in each succeeding month. You pay new interest on old interest. So that's why you need to know if the county deals with simple or compound interest. Because as an investor, receiving compound interest is great. But as a creditor, a person that is a debtor, I do apologize. A person that is a debtor, it's not good to receive or sign contracts that are based on compound interest. So this is something you can teach your friends and family. To understand how simple interest works, consider an automobile loan that has $15,000 principal balance and an annual 5% interest rate. If your payment is due on May 1st and you pay on the due date, the finance company calculates your interest on the 30 days in April. Your interest for 30 days is $61.64 under this scenario. However, if you make the payment April 21st, the finance company charges you only 20 days in April, dropping your interest to $41.09. A $20 saving. So I want you to look at that and have an aha moment, because this is some of the things that I teach my friends and family when you want to beat the interest. And this only can be done on simple interest. When you have an account that's based on simple interest, if you pay above the due date, before the due date, 15 days to 20 days before the due date, you will see a significant amount of savings on the interest. So before you get into any home loan contracts, be sure to know the difference between simple and compound interest, okay? The investor position. The tax lien investor, tax lien holder, in perspective, is paying the owner's taxes, interest, and incurred penalties. The tax lien holder is entitled to redeem. So, your amount invested, for example, $1,000, 10-month interest rate at 14% is $117. The penalty is $35 for the person. The total return is $1,152. The profit earned is $152 in a 10-month time, and this is when you're dealing with simple interest. So you like to deal with compound interest if you can find it when it comes to investing, but this is how simple interest work. And most counties do honor their tax lien through the process through simple interest. So please be aware if you invest, and this is a prime example. So I'll let you go over it so you can get a better understanding. How tax deeds work. Now let's go and review this just a little bit more. If the county used tax deeds to lien the property, it is a high chance the investor will end up with the property. We definitely know the difference with that. Keep in mind the county may give the default owner a period of redemption, few months. Homeowners may acquire interest and possible penalties within those few months as well, which is payable to the investor. If this is not done, the property is foreclosed on by the investor or the county. See county's procedures via account tax lien assessor's website. Okay, and that's why I tell you it's great to build a relationship with the county workers, and we'll go over that in our next class, Communication Skills, in module number 5. Tax deeds basics. Tax liens investment is different from tax deeds process. With the deed process, you bid directly on the house. If you win the bid, you have a chance to acquire the property. FYI, the owner have a grace period to pay their debt and redeem the property. So I want to stress to you about that. Property value. For instance, if you do an initial investment, the property value is $50,000. Let's say that. This is the property value. The amount of back taxes, interest, and penalties owed is $2,300. And you as the bidder, because you went into a bidding war, because you know that all auctions start at the taxes, interest, and penalties on. So that person must have went in a bidding war and went up to $21,000 on this investment. Amount that goes to the county is only $2,300. There's a secret. We have a bonus program called overage. I'll be sharing details with you later on in the program. Overage. You have an overage about $18,700 that's within the county's grip. And this is the next program that I'll be telling you guys about of how to acquire that overage. Equity profit to win the bid is basically $29,000. So you yourself, if you acquire this property, you actually have a profit of about $29,000 possibly if you could get the home to sell for how much it values. The tax lien issued by the local county, the right of the tax lien holder. Let's go over that. A tax lien holder is issued by the local, the right of the tax lien holder. A tax lien certificate issued by the local city or county government entities is usually considered superior to all liens in existence upon a property except for federal government liens such as the IRS. So I want you to know IRS beats our seniority when it comes to tax lien holders, but everybody else, real estate companies, creditors, we are priority to get paid. TLCs is not an automatic transfer of the property to the lien holders. So remember that. I want y'all to be aware of that because people get that confused between the tax lien certificate and the tax deed. Two different things. The complete truth. What are the risks associated with tax lien investments in tax lien certificates?
We're going to go on to the next video. Thank you for bearing with the glitches and the mishaps in the video, which was due to either editing and or right now internet service. So we're going to move on because that section right there is the breakdown of the compound interest and the simple interest. And for people who are in the program, they could get to see that video. But this one is mitigating the risk factors. With every investment, there are risks. So we have to have a mind of an investor because you can't just think about all the good. You have to think about the bad. So we're going to hone in.
What are the risks associated with tax lien investments in tax lien certificates? What are the risks associated with tax lien investments in tax lien certificates? So I just want you to understand what are risk factors. Every investment has a risk factor. And here at Primetime Home Buyers, we want to be honest and upfront as possible with any investor. We also stress many concepts that you need to be aware of. So if you hear certain concepts repeated consistently throughout these modules, that means those are things that you need to keep on your brain and be aware of. This is why we review certain concepts for you. So let's go on to what's the risk factors. The complete truth. Tax liens are not risk-free investments. Risk for tax liens to be redeemed by the property owner. The property owner may redeem their property back, and you just receive your interest and penalties after you make your investment. Factors that may interrupt buying power. Accumulation of debt. If you receive a tax lien certificate and it's time for you to redeem, and this person has so many different liens on them, that becomes a problem to you as an investor. If you have an abundance of residual income, it will not be a problem because you will be able to pay those liens off to receive the property if it's worth it. Some properties are worth it. For instance, if you have a property worth $125,000, you invest $2,500, and the person has $10,000 in liens on that person's home, you can pay the $10,000 in liens, which accumulates your investment to $12,500, in which you can sell the $125,000 property for a short sale of $100,000 and receive your profit beyond your expectation. But you have to be aware, and that's why we say do your research. You can check to see if these properties have liens on it before you even get to the auction. Make sure that you don't invest in junk property. You can, even as home buyers, going into the market regular with mortgage companies, the best thing to do is have the home assessed. Why not have the home assessed? You may not be able to do it prior to you buying it, but do as much of your due diligence as possible. See how old the home is. Maybe do a circle around the home. Maybe have a realtor look at the home and give you an assessment based on that. There's so many factors that you can find out to do researches on homes before you actually buy it. So as a new investor, that's why we stress at Primetime Home Buyers to go in the slow route. Take your time, learn all your avenues, and then you become efficient. Then you can do as much as you want, as fast as you want. Bankruptcy as well. Please understand that the homeowner can slow down the process or actually stop the process by filing for bankruptcy. So there, I will ask you, Primetime Home Buyers, suggest that you always have lawyers on reserve that is well-rounded on the subject matter of tax liens, foreclosure, and bankruptcies. It's good to have a great list of connects when it comes to business that deals with real estate or any business that you're in. Always have connects. Litigation. Litigation can slow down the process. Sometimes home buyers know the actual ways to slow down the process, in which you received in Module 3 some helpful hints on how to slow down the tax lien process. But that will not stop you completely from receiving the home. So be aware. Certificates declared invalid due to procedures errors. Now, I wanted to tell you that, and you have to be aware of what you receive. Primetime Home Buyers has been directly affected at one point within their tax lien purchases from a county that was issuing tax liens improperly. So we'll go over that as a bonus feed on how to avoid getting bad tax liens from counties in which that can happen. It's all based on how the tax lien is written up. So see below for bonus information in regards to what happened with Primetime Home Buyers in the defaulty tax lien. Risk factors. Accumulation of debt. In some situation, tax debt can accumulate on the property. As I mentioned to you, as a tax lien holder certificate that plans to foreclose, you might get caught up in the debt. So I did explain to you what you may have to do if you don't do your due diligence and you find the property has other debts on it and you want the property. Do research through the county to see if there's any other tax liens on the property before investing in the property. As I told you, some counties have up to 2 years to redeem. So if you invest in the first year that person was late on their tax lien, and you don't follow up for the next year to redeem the next tax lien that's issued, because the person still is in the home for the 2 years, and if they don't pay the taxes for that next year, that accumulates, which create another tax certificate, which give another investor the right to invest in that tax lien. When his time to redeem is there, he has the right to redeem, his or yours. Due to the fact that your tax lien will redeem first, you can foreclose first because you have priority, but you must pay that second tax lien holder to receive the property. All right? I like the risk of bankruptcy. As a homeowner, bankruptcy is a legal loophole that can cause troubles, delay in the lien process. Bankruptcy can halt any kind of collection efforts, period. Interest penalties for the foreclosure on bankruptcy can halt any kind of collections effort, period. Okay? So contact specialists in bankruptcy in the state for your legal support. You always have to have a backup plan. Everybody doesn't know everything. We have many people who are very, very well-rounded in the subject of tax lien. If you do a little investigation, you'll have them right on your payroll or right in your portfolio. Good news, tax lien claims hold priority claim, so when the bankruptcy is resolved, you will be the first in line to get paid. Okay? Mitigate the risk factors. Okay? So it's called mitigation, y'all. Try to eliminate the risk factors. You always have to think ahead. Think ahead. Research is the key. Do your due diligence. Avoid fixer-uppers. Talk to people in the area. Go to the local stores if you can. Research the colleges in the area. Find out what the people feel about the area. Local businesses, you can see how they're rated, how they're reviewed. Tally your expenses possibly if you receive the property, including taxes, including insurance, and other charges that you may incur as being a new homeowner. Consider the appreciation of your rental property. So you have to consider what type of damages or what needs to be fixed that actually takes away from the price value that it says on the market. Determine your cash on hand return. If you're in it just to invest, know what you will possibly receive back. Understand if the county is dealing with compound interest or simple interest. This will make you have a well understanding of what you may receive back pertaining to your initial investment. If you don't do adequate research, the property you bid on may be junk property. We are stressing it. You don't want junk property. Please, guys, because it's going to cause you to more hell and fury than anything than have a junk property. You have to pay taxes on it and everything. Avoid any damages like piping, electrical, roofing, or foundational issues. If it's any issues like those, just walk away. Walk away. Okay, guys? Avoid fixer-uppers and junk properties at all costs. The thinking and planning process. Now, all right, we got our foundational information down. Now we understand what a tax lien is. We understand what a tax deed is. We understand what an over-the-counter sale is. We understand what an auction is and the process of finding out information about all of these processes. Now, determine your investment objective. What do you want to do? Do you want to invest just for interest, for residual income, or do you want to acquire property and land? Determine the amount of time and cash energy investment. Determine how much you have based on what you want to spend and invest. Please, we also offer a bonus program in regards to budgeting and savings. We'll be coming out with that in the next 6 months, which will help you determine what's an asset versus what's debt, what is going to be your actual liability, and what can help you balance your home portfolio. Okay? Select the market to invest in. Know your market. Know the community. You may get a home today, and then next year the property value drops significantly. And it could have been avoided you from purchasing the property if you just did a little research and started to pay attention to the trends of what was going on in the area. You find out if there's a lot of crime, is it burglary, is it homicide, is it drug dealing, anything going on. These things would eventually affect your property value. Determine geographical area in which you invest. Now, we all have our preferences of who we want to be around and who we decide to do business with. So this is the prime time for you to decide where you want to be when it comes to geographical area. Thinking and planning. The research process. Highlight properties within your budget. Sometimes it's good to highlight properties outside of your budget because you got to make a wish list. You got to have high hopes. So you find them dream properties, you put them to the side, and you just know that one day you'll be able to get them. But highlight the properties within your budget. Highlight properties in the best areas to invest in. Highlight single-family residence only. And the reason why I say that right now, you can go into a dual residence if you feel like you can handle that. But the best approach, as mentioned before in Class 3, is to move into that dual home, and then you will have your place to live and a residual income. Obtain property profiles. They're all available online, and we'll show you through different modules where you can go to read property profiles. Envision the property that you want. As I said, you look for properties within your budget, but then you may just jump out the pocket. Look for $1 million property and just put it to the side. I'm just playing. Well, a property that's outside of your budget. You always have to have a dream, because when you have a dream and you have a vision, you have a pathway to get into that some way, somehow. Primetime home buyers support your dream of ownership. Picture the property. Order subdivision maps. View the homes for sale in the same area and neighborhood. Contact real estate agents. Request relocation package. You can receive that information from the local chambers of commerce. This will give you a lot of information about the property, not the property per se, but the area, what's going on in there, what's the politics, what type of environment that you are planning on investing in. You can do that all before you move in, or all before you invest. Tally your expenses. I suggest a module that you can find online. It's called Use Bigger Pockets Realtor Property Calculator to help calculate your expenses. So I'll show you a little video where we'll go down to that website and we'll use it to show you how to help calculate your possible expenses. So you want to keep in mind that you'll possibly have maintenance costs, minor and major maintenance needs, but you don't want major because we paid attention. We don't want junk property. Get a good inspector. Do your due diligence. It takes a second to actually, well, a little bit more than a second to go online and look for top-rated inspectors. Also, you can use the Better Business Bureau as a backup mechanism to check their ratings if they are registered with the Better Business Bureau. Tax and insurance, you have to keep that in mind that you receive the home. You will have to pay tax and insurance. Property management, it's about 10% of the monthly rent, so be aware of that where it comes to lawn keeping, sewage, and garbage. Some counties make you pay for that. Using such garbage, water, heat, and electricity. As I mentioned, you have to keep some type of running water through the property, so it's good, even though you won't have no one in it. If you're not there, you want to get the water running because you don't, it depends on the location. You wouldn't want the pipes to freeze or other damage to incur. Determine your cash on hand return rate. Key, never spend what you do not have. Find investors. Talk to them about this program. Show them the program. Once you are well-rounded in the program, you'll be able to be a teacher and teach people about this as well. And you will find a lot of people who would love to invest in someone who are able to gain properties and actually give them a big return on their investment. Start small and work your way up. We always say start small and work your way up. Little incremental investments you will find will do you justice. Looking into the future, think ahead. We always want you to think ahead. You hear what we stress here in Primetime Home Buyers. We want you to be active thinkers, active critical thinkers. Calculate your capitalization rate, what you may get. Is the property investment worth it? Is it worth everything that you may spend in this property based on all the information you find? And it seems like, it's a lot of research, but once you're able to get into the flow of it, you can be researching 3 or 4 properties doing the same steps as I taught you in class 2 and 3 and now 4.
All right, guys, so I want to say thank you for taking the time to be with us today and go through 2 classes, 2 short modules inside of the classes. The classes add up about to 4 hours or so of information, but you can move at your own time and your own rate, per se. And as you say, it's pretty comprehensive. If you have any questions, you actually can get in contact with me through the platform. Send a straight email to me, or you can send an email to our email address, which is, I'm pulling it up right now, which is the buybackteam.ed@gmail.com. Please excuse, I have so many emails, so I just had to make sure I was giving you the right one. So I hope that you were able to gain a lot of information that we shared today in Primetime Home Buyers Part 2 Live. Also, I want you to check out the 2008 Financial Crisis Crash Course Economic video number 12, where they give you a comprehensive look at what happened in 2008 pertaining to the subprime mortgages and the packaging of it and how it was sold and how the investors lost their money. It caused a ripple effect and other things. So this is to say that you have plenty of other choices when it comes to investing in home. You can even go into foreclosure. That's one thing that I say, you have to be diverse and open-minded when it comes to wanting to gain assets, specifically land, and that's what we're focusing on. So also, we'll be giving an update on, as we mentioned in the video, you have to be careful when you invest in tax liens to pay attention to the tax certificate. Counties work with their own laws, their own ways, and their own procedures. A lot of up-to-date counties have a lot of their information located on the website, and you can find out their rules and regulations as well as be directed to laws. What that goes to say, some counties that are more older, and if you're looking into acquiring land like grassland, for instance, you may be dealing with older counties and older procedures. So with that goes to say, we're going to go more into detail on a separate broadcast focusing on specifically what happened with Primetime Home Buyers Tax Lien in Maryland. And that will be a comprehensive video so you can make sure that you don't go through what we have to go through, what we went through. Either way, we learn, you learn, and we all grow. We continue to invest in tax liens safely, take our time, research. It is about a 30-day process, and you can spend up to 2 hours a week. And that's why I say it's a 30-day process for me to look into actual properties, get to know what's going on with the tax assessor's office and the process and some of the rules. And within that 30 days, I usually communicated with the tax lien office, find out what's the procedure, if I'm going to participate in the auction or over the counter. As I state to people, the easiest, most passive way to start investing in tax liens is actually going over the counter and searching through their database or their old list of properties that wasn't sold at their last auction. Sometimes a lot of people, a lot of places have a long list because their auction is not really public. Like for instance, when we were in Maryland, we were more in a rural place, so we had a big list to look at because there were a lot of land lots as well as old homes for sale that were abandoned. So I highly recommend places like that, but you have to be aware and pay attention to the instrument that you receive after you make your investment as well. So thank you again for being with us today. We're going to end today's broadcast. I want you to like, share, and subscribe. Also, go in and sign in. The course right now is $25, and we have a few students in that's moving through the module pretty well. And if you want to learn anything more, you can inbox me. I'll talk to you or you can go specifically to the Facebook Primetime Home Buyers page and set up a consultation, a free 30-minute consultation in which we can just talk about what you are interested in when it comes to investing in tax liens, or if you just want to know a little bit more information. So thank you for being with us today. Hope you enjoyed today's broadcast, and we'll be speaking to you soon.